Okay, evaluating general functions is really not any big deal. This is going to be a quick lesson. Here we have w of n. That's how its function. It's the equation w, and we're going to stick in a number for that. So whatever they're here, they want w at -5. Before I show you exactly, it's quick to do, but I want to show you what's happening. So this is the equation. It's just a line starting at -2. And then it has a slope of down 2 over 1, so down 2 over 1. It's just this line. That's what this is. That's the equation. That's this line. And they want us to evaluate it at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at -5. They want to know how tall is it right there. They want to know what that dot is. -5 what? Okay, so these things are the shape. And then they want to go over on the x-axis. They're wanting you to plug in an x and say how tall is it on that x? Okay, well, practically all you do is stick it in. So it's -2 times something minus 2. So we're just going to stick the -5 in there. So that's 10 minus 2. So it's at 8. So that's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units high. So when we stick in 5, we get in 8. That's what it's asking. Okay, but to actually do it, all you got to do is plug it in there. So same thing. We already know what this cubic looks like. It's going to possibly have 3 answers, something like that. And they want to know how tall is it when we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How tall is this shape way up there at 8? Okay, well, you just stick it in. So it's something to the third minus 5, something to the second, and that something is the 8. You can use your calculator for all of this stuff also. So it's 8 to the third minus 5 times 8 squared. (192). So when this is over 8, it's up 192, and that makes sense. It's going up very steeply from there. Just for giggles, I want to show you one other way, just because I'm always wanting people to understand lots of what's happening. I'm going to put in x to the third minus 5x squared as a graph to actually get that shape. And now I'm going to ask the calculator. Remember, we have this calculate function right here, second calculate. And to put in a value, I don't know if we've used value yet. It lets you put in whatever x you want. Well, I want to know how tall it is at 8. And it tells me, well, the y value when x is 8, the y is 192, which is what we have right here. Okay, there's one other way to help you have your calculator do that. So of course, you could graph it. So I graphed it and then plugged in an 8. Okay, there's one other way. Right here, this vars button, that stands for variables. I'm going to go over to y variables because I put it in y, I put it in y2, so I have it in this variable y. So I'm going to go to vars, y variables, and I have it as a function. And I have y2 is where the function is. I didn't want it to do there. I want it on the home screen. Vars, y vars function, I have it in y2. You can put it like this. That means the equation that's in y2, stick in an 8. So you don't even have to graph it. You can have it happen like that on the home screen, and that also produces the 192. So there's several ways to do it. You can just type it in your calculator. You can graph it and do value, or you can do the y vars and plug in the 8. Okay, or you can just do it by hand. The absolute value of -5 minus 2. Well, absolute value is always positive, so that's 3. Now, just as a review, absolute value is a V shape. This one's been shifted down 2, so it's the V shape right there. So what that's saying is when we go over to -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that dot right there is -5, 3. That's what that 3 means. Okay, h at 0, so we're going to plug the 0 in right there. So we have 3 to the 0 plus 2, so it's 3 to the 2, which is 9. Okay, so all of these were numbers. Numbers are really easy. You plug a number in, you get a number out. Plug a number in, you get a number out. Plug a number in, you get a number out, and so on. Okay, if there's any trouble, it turns out when there's not numbers. Okay, if we plug a variable in, we're going to get a variable out. If we plug an x in, we're going to get an x out. What this means is -2 times something plus 2. So where that variable is, I'm just going to leave it a missing blank. This is what goes in that missing blank, x over 2. Now, a number will not come out of this. If you put x's in the equation, we're going to get x's out of the equation. Well, multiplying this together, those go away, so we have -x plus 2, and that's what that answer is. So when the variable is x over 2, you stick in x over 2 for all of that, and it changes the equation. Okay, that's what this one is. That means 3 times something plus 3, and the something is that. So I'm going to put in the n plus 1. And now you just simplify it. So that's 3n plus 3, and then this part is plus 3. So it turns out to be 3n plus 6. Stick an n in, get an n out. Here we're going to stick an n in, we're going to get an equation with an n in it. So this means something to the third minus 2 plus something. Every place there's an n, I'm just leaving a blank. Now that's what gets filled. So I'll put a -2n in there and a -2n in there. Okay, -2 times -2 times -2 is -8, and then n to the third. Minus 2 plus -2n. And then when I put that in order, it's -8 n to the third minus 2n minus 2. So putting a -2 in the original equation changes the equation. Okay, here, this means something to the third plus 1, and that something is right there, n minus 3. Okay, that means n minus 3 times n minus 3 times n minus 3 plus 1, so I'd have to multiply these together, and then take whatever that answer is and multiply it times that one. Or, you can remember from just the last lesson, that we have a shortcut for this with Pascal's triangle. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, 1. I can take this and multiply it all out faster with this. It's Pascal, first, last. Pascal is 1, 3, 3, 1. The first was an n. The last was a -3 in a parentheses. You go highest power down, so 3, 2, 1, 0, and then 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is a 1, so this becomes 1 times n to the third, so that's n to the third. -3 to the first, that's a -3, so I have 3 times -3 times n squared, so that's -9n squared. -3 squared is +9, times 3 is 27, n to the first. And -3 is -27 times 1 times 1, so that becomes -27. So this whole thing, multiplied all out 3 times, is n to the third minus 9n squared plus 27n minus 27. So I have n to the third minus 9n squared plus 27n minus 27, and then I still have this plus 1. So the answer is n to the third minus 9n squared plus 27n minus 26. Pascal's triangle, so that you can multiply out these things much faster. Okay, plug an a in, we're going to get an a out. So this is the absolute value of something minus 2 minus 3. See, where there was the a, I left a blank because this stuff goes in there, 1 plus a. Okay, absolute values are like parentheses, so we have to do parentheses first. So this really means the absolute value of 1 plus a minus 2 minus 3. Well, 1 minus 2, so that's the absolute value of, I'll put the a first, a minus 1 minus 3. Now, that's as far as that goes. You don't take these out of, that does not become a plus 1 when it comes out of there. That's a package. That means it's basically, it's a V shape. Remember, this is the shift, so this will be the right shift. This will be to the right 1 and down 3. So right 1, down 3, it really means it's that shape right there. So that's it. You cannot split a subtraction apart with an absolute value. They don't come out of there one at a time. Okay, 10, so it's going to be very similar. I have a t plus 2. And this is what goes in the t spot, 1 minus t. Okay, so that's 1 minus t plus 2, which is just t plus 1. And you don't take those out of the absolute value. All that means is it is a shift up 1. Okay, let's see here. What is that? That's a 5 to the something, and that something is n plus 4. All right, well, that doesn't simplify any further. That's it. So we're doing this in geometry right now. See if I can. That would be something like y equals 5 to the x plus 4. Here's the parent, y equals 5 to the x. Let me just show you what that's doing. What I hope we can tell is that is a left shift 4. So it's going to go to the left 4. Whatever the parent is going to go to the left 4. If I stick a 0 in there, 5 to the 0 is 1. If I stick a 1 in there, 5 to the 1 is 5. If I stick a negative 1 in there, 5 to the negative 1 is 1/5. Let's see what that looks like. 0, 1, 1, 5, and negative 1, 1/5. That's this shape right there. And now we shift it to the left 4. So all these dots will be to the left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what that's doing. Just like the absolute value, it's just a different kind of parent shape that's been shifted to the left 4. Okay, and then lastly, so this one's 5 to the 3 whatever, and this is what goes in there. So that becomes 5 to the 6a. So it's going to look similar to that one, but you don't have to care. That's w to the n evaluated at 2a.